Happy Thursday, everybody. This is Cinco Squad.
Yeah, boy.
My name's Jonathan Sawyer. With me is Mike DeSando and Grandpa Jay down below. I don't know if he just forgets to change his name or if that's where he's going by now, but that's Grandpa Jay down below. But Pat in the Hat is MIA right now. I think he still is dealing with some internet issues, but he just bought a house, so congratulations to Pat.
Yes,
on buying a house.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I wish we were clapping for Aaron Judge. We're watching the game right now. Hopefully, we'll bring that live to you if he goes ahead and hits the 61st home run. But boys, how's it going today? How's it going this week? Jamie, you look tired as hell.
Tired. Long week. Long week.
Mikey Mike, how you doing?
I am doing very good, hoping to see Mr. Judge hit number 61. My Giants are 2-0. The Rangers are looking good in camp. They did a great job in a trade they had to make this week. I'm feeling good about all my teams for once in my life.
And then there was October.
Come on, Jamie.
Let's deal with tonight, and then we'll deal with it.
Yeah, I'm cheering for 61. I told you guys I thought he'd get to 66, so I'm cheering for 61 tonight too.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping so. I mean, I was telling Mike before the show that I was hoping he gets to 61 so we can focus on 28.
Yeah.
That's the real important number. No, 28.
I know.
So we can get the number 28 World Series championship posted on there. So we got Mike's little cousin, Gary. They got to pitch to him. I agree, Gary. That's what I was just saying. Anyways, hello. What's up, Gary? Boys, it's been a great week so far for myself. I'm just living life, having good PRs in the gym. So crushing it. I miss Grandpa Jay helping me take all those plates off for me. So
more upper body for you. That's why you're getting stronger.
But boys,
bro, before you go on, that you sent me with that dude in LA that had like 48 plates on there. That was moving his knees like.
Oh yeah, you said
that. It took him half an hour to put those plates on, and you're not even.
That was his whole workout.
That makes no sense.
Maybe he called ahead and said, "Hey, how many plates are on? All right, just leave it and just put more."
That's so ridiculous.
Grandpa Jay, what you sipping on tonight?
Well, since I'm at work, I just went with my high quality H2O because I'm dehydrated. It was hot today, so I'm sipping on. This is my second one, so I'm almost done with my gallon for the day here.
Yeah, I got mine down here, right here.
What you sipping on? You on that H2O vibe too?
I got H2O, and then I got Corona.
Corona. Oh, you're going with una cerveza. Mikey, give us the rainbow, bro.
Come on, bro.
Okay.
I have a drink. Hold on. Let's be real. No one cares about what anybody drinks with Mike at this point.
Mike, I know, right?
He's got all the concoct. He goes to different stores across Rochester. He should do like a take every single time he goes to like different things.
We're here live from Beers of the World. No, I have a drink entirely made of melted Skittles. No, it's not. I decided to stick on the Bud Light Seltzer Hard Soda train this week, as I was on last week, except for this one is Cherry Cola.
Nice.
Ooh, does it taste good? And the signature has to try it on the show.
I've actually had it before, but it's good. When I was gone from the show, I had it.
Yeah. Is it good? Does it taste like Cherry Cola?
Oh, yeah, it tastes like Cherry Cola.
That's funny. That's cool. Yeah. That's awesome. So we've had, for everyone listening in the beginning of the show, like, share, subscribe down below at all our social media handles and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Send it to everybody in your family. We'll give you a free button. Maybe.
Once we get the buttons.
Yeah, like down the road. IOUs.
Yeah.
But let's take a quick detour before we get into our topics of the night to our Cinco Squad fantasy football update, week 2. Boy. It was a terrible week for myself in all my leagues. My dad gave me a butt whooping. 143 to 106. Lickety splits Tyler Malfa beat Rick the Ruler 169 and 139. Mike DeSando defeats Grandpa Jay 141 to 138. That's Mike's second week with a close win right there.
Well, when you have Josh
We're one of
Allen
those
as
teams.
quarterback, it doesn't matter how many points you're down by. And I think whoever drafted him this year, he may carry you to a fantasy title based on him.
Gotta love Josh Allen.
Average 40 points a game right now.
Ding.
Yeah, the guy didn't play the fourth quarter and he still got 42 points. Tennessee, forget you, Tennessee. Forget you, Tennessee.
I'm loving the Titans right now.
Yeah, you are.
Missed a field goal. Got Josh Allen all the points. I love it.
What's the rest of the league looking like, John?
So we got 6 beers deep, which is always Pat. He defeated Trey 157, Mr. Cinco 118. Wow. And then the last game, Motor City Roar, which is OP, Trey's boy, defeated Fonz. And we got to talk about Fonz for a little bit.
Yeah.
Fonz scored a whopping 75 points in the second week. And in the first week,
he was like 80-something, I think.
Yeah.
He was at 70. So he improved by 5 points. But we need to get Fonz on the show and see what is going on, dude. Are you okay?
Come on,
Fonz, you got to comment on the show. Let us know.
Don't be that default team in the league that doesn't want to play fantasy.
The problem is he's not. He's actually adjusting his roster. He's just getting unlucky. But watching this week become the highest point scorer.
So get this, right? One of the guys in my draft who's a Giants fan gave me a whole bunch of shit for drafting Hurts. And I said, yeah, but they have the easiest schedule this year. And like, look at their first 6 games. He's like, exactly. So because their schedule is easy, they're going to be up big. Hurts is not going to play the fourth quarter. Like, he hated the pick so much. And as a Giants fan, he took Dak. So, of course, Dak goes out in week 1. So guess who sent me a trade request for Jalen Hurts this week? You know, my response was, you should be ashamed of yourself for being a Giants fan that drafted Dak and now wants Jalen Hurts on his team. The answer is no soup for you.
No soup for you.
No Jalen Hurts after week. Are you kidding me? Anybody who would trade Jalen Hurts right now, even though the value is tremendous, is stupid. Because then you're playing quarterback shuffle for the rest of the year. Yeah. But I can start him and let him ride the whole year except for his bye week.
I do have to, as a Giants fan, I do have to say something. I told everybody not to pick Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
I told you all.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Did you listen?
Did.
No.
I did.
What's happened? They don't use him.
Yeah.
Yeah, my leagues took a big stinker. A lot of the guys I had Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase like Jamie does in our league, and they'll get it going. I mean, I think this is the week for them to get it going, but we'll talk about that later in the show.
Anybody gets it going.
This week, I got to take on Grandpa Jay. He's gonna always be late, 5 minutes late to the party, so I'm gonna defeat him this week. Pat has Rick the Ruler. Fonz has Tyler Malfa. Trey has my dad and Mr. Sawyer.
Going down, Team Sawyer.
And Motor City Roar has only 80 yards. Mike, can you describe what that name means?
Yes. So, as has been stated a million times on this show and others, I am a New York Giants fan. And I am an understanding New York Giants fan that knows when they're good and knows when they're bad. Only 80 yards because if you guys remember, a certain Daniel Dimes Jones took off running, I believe it was against the Eagles, and was in the clear, end zone in front of him, all defenders 20 yards behind him. And once he got 80 yards, the turf monster came up and tripped him. So only 80 yards. Because that's all he can go is 80 yards.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. So,
yeah.
Well, Mr. Judge is up here, and Kyle Higashioka just drove in a run on a fly ball. Let's see if Walker pitches to him. And that brings us into our first topic about what's right around the corner, the MLB playoffs. So,
I'm ready.
It's been an interesting year of baseball in a lot of it. Like the Dodgers have continued to soar at the top of the league, at the top of the whole league.
Yep.
In the second half. They've been the best team in the second half, hands down, next to the Braves, who is the defending champions.
Yep.
Then you have, the AL, which is kind of like wide open right now. I mean, the Yankees looked like they were a powerhouse. Like I said it to Grandpa Jay here. The whole first half, I said, I'm not going to get too happy. I'm not going to get too happy. And then they went on a slump. The team that's making me kind of nervous as a Yankee fan right now that's playing good baseball is the Cleveland Guardians. And they should not be leading the Central at all.
No, they should be in third.
They should be in third behind Minnesota and Chicago. And they are leading, and they're playing with a lot of pride. It's a typical Seattle team where when they dump their players, they're playing with a lot of pride. They got a World Series champion manager. That team is rolling right now. What do you guys think?
Opened up like that 3 weeks ago. That division was who wants it, and everybody was within half a game of each other, like off and on for about a week and a half. And now they've opened up a 6-game lead. And you're right. I think what's separating him from everybody else right now is Francona, and at the right time. You see, when teams get hot at the right time, this is kind of what the Braves looked like last year. All of a sudden, they got hot at the right time. So I'd agree with you there, where they might be a team that can tease, but the team you should be afraid of is the Houston Astros. Their bullpen is ridiculous.
That was my next team.
They've replaced all of their bats. Their starting pitchers are ridiculous. They made a shamble of Tampa and swept Tampa at home this last series that Tampa just came out of. And to me, that's the team I would want to avoid. Period. Like, that is not. I hope Tampa gets the 3rd seed so we can avoid them, and maybe have to meet them in the ALCS if we get that far, because the earlier the worse.
Well, at first, I mean, it was to start the second half. I was kind of nervous because everyone's coming off the break, and we lost our first 2 games against the Astros. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Judge strikes out here. Mike already saw it 20 minutes ago. My stream just got it.
But, the game's over.
But they got swept by the Astros in a 2-game series.
Yeah.
I was very nervous, and at one point I was telling Mike's like, well, I want to play for the 1 seed, and I was like, dude, I want to win the division at the end of the day, because I don't think they're going to be able to win the division, because their 15-game lead went down to 6.5, which it is right now. Yep. Now, granted, most teams are going to try to play a little harder in the second half, strategize a little bit better. We knew Toronto and Tampa would make a run, but the one team that shocked me, and I think we were just talking about, is Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Boston went from second place at the All-Star break down all the way to last.
No, we were second at the All-Star break. The Rays were.
It was between those two, though. They were up there. Now they're 18 games back, about to miss the playoffs. They just tanked. I agree with you. Houston's a very scary team. That's the reason why I wanted the Yankees ultimately to grab the 1 seed as a Yankee fan, because we've seen this show before in the ALCS where we have to play Game 7 in Houston. And, I think it's going to be interesting playoffs. I can tell you that for a fact, especially with the new rules with the 3-game series extended a little bit. Mike, what you think?
So as far as Cleveland goes, I think they're a team, like you said, is playing with a lot of energy, a lot of pride. Cleveland seems to always have a pretty good team culture no matter who's on the roster. Right. So I think they play as a team, which, that really helped them get to the World Series back in 2016 against the Cubs, along with their ludicrous amount of talent, especially pitching. I think, though, that this is a Cleveland team that's meant more to be successful in the regular season. I think they're very young, and they're not very deep at certain spots, especially now pitching. They've lost a lot of their really good pitchers from that 2016 run. So I don't really fear them too much in the playoffs, aside from Jose Ramirez. He can make some noise, but the depth in their lineup and in their pitching staff doesn't necessarily scare me. Boston's decline was a surprise, but their whole season turned on a dime as soon as Chris Sale took that liner off the hand.
Yep.
That was not only
his first game back.
Right. Because that not only takes their ace, the guy that's supposed to be their ace, away, but that's like demoralizing as far as team morale goes. Like, man, we can't catch a break. Now we finally get our best pitcher that we've put all this money into and all this time into, and he gets hurt within 3 innings of being back. The team, Astros are obviously good, but the team that no one should overlook in this whole thing is the Seattle Mariners.
I knew you were going to say that.
They are a team that's playing with nothing to lose. They remind me a lot of the 2014 Royals, the year before they won the World Series, but they went and lost to the Giants. Just this young, hungry team with a lot of talent at different positions that just, like I said, they're playing with nothing to lose, and they have so much energy. It's finally a team Seattle can be proud of that is playing winning baseball. Do not be surprised if Seattle pulls an upset or 2 out.
Yeah, I think they'll get out of the wild card round. I think whoever they play, because they'll most likely match up against the Guardians, and then the Rays and the Blue Jays will go at it. Jamie, what do you think about your Rays down there in Tampa Bay about playing the Blue Jays?
Yeah, I like that matchup. I think like we've probably had more of an edge on them this season than we did last season. Last season we had a number. So I kind of like where we're going. I don't think Toronto ever kind of put together the season that everybody expected. I think they expected Toronto to challenge the Yankees more than any other team. Right now they have crept into second place, but it's not like they're going to challenge them for the AL East at this moment. Yeah. I think they're making a late charge at the right time. They have the roster to challenge anybody. But we're very AL focused right now. I think the Rays are going to be okay. I think the AL is going to be a total dogfight with everybody in there. Are the Dodgers clearly being the best team in the NL right now? We're saying they're the team to beat in the NL, but shouldn't they fare the Mets and the Braves?
That's what I was about to say. It's like the Braves are playing the best baseball in baseball right now. I mean, they raced, I think, a 7.5 game lead on that the Mets had on them.
I think it was almost 10. It was 9.5.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there, around that. It was ridiculous. Yep. And now they're playing for the division, the title, and ultimately the second best. If they get the division title, that means they don't have to play in the wild card round. Yep. They can go right to the number 2 because the winner of that division is going to be the number 2 seed behind. The Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are just depth pitching wise. It scares me a little bit if I'm a Dodgers fan. But I don't underestimate them because their lineup 1 through 9 can all, if they're all hitting, it's a dogfight. You know what I mean? And same with the Braves. The Braves did a lot. They threw a lot of money out this season at people. And yes, they didn't re-sign Freddie Freeman, but I think they used that money smartly in re-signing a lot of good players. And the Mets scare me because of the 2 people, and that's DeGrom and Scherzer. Not Verlander.
That's why Houston scares me.
DeGrom and Scherzer, that 1-2 punch right there, can be very lethal in the playoffs, especially because they've both been there. They've both been in a deep playoff run. The team that honestly is playing with a lot of pride is similar to the Mariners is the Cardinals. They want it, and they want to win it badly for Waka, Pujols, and Molina. I don't think they will, but that could be a team that could push a Dodgers team to go 7 and really give a good contending team a run for their money.
Okay, so in one sentence, why won't we have another Subway Series this year in the World Series?
Pitching.
If
the Yankees pitching cannot, if their top 3 pitchers, Cole, Cortez, and either Sevy or Taillon, can't get out and be dominant like they should be, that's going to be their death. And the fact that they if they go into a slump.
Okay.
Mikey?
I agree with that from a Yankees perspective. So from a Mets perspective, it's also pitching, and it's a lack of pitching depth behind DeGrom and Scherzer. I think the Mets are in big trouble if they end up playing in the wild card, because you're burning the first starts of the playoffs for DeGrom and Scherzer, and you're almost, given the schedule, we've kind of broken it down. There's a chance that you're going to have to force your 3rd or 4th best starter to pitch games 1 and 2. And if you're going on the road down 2-0 because your pitching depth behind DeGrom and Scherzer aren't good enough, you're going to be in trouble, because while the Mets are talented against a lot of these National League teams, especially like the Dodgers, Braves, and Cardinals, they can give you problems. And I agree with you, John. The Cardinals want this bad. Like, they want it. They all want it bad enough that we're suddenly seeing 31, 32-year-old Pujols at the plate instead of 40-year-old Pujols.
So funny story about that. So I turned on the game. I said, okay, let me turn on, the coverage. And all of a sudden when I did, it was the Padres versus the Cardinals. And it was Pujols at bat. And Snell throws the ball. And as soon as I turn it on, Pujols hits the ball and he crushes it. But he just got underneath it. But I was like, oh my God, am I going to see 699 here? I'm like, holy shit, I just turned it on. But let's dive into some comments we got here. Garrick is giving us the play-by-play. Garrick, we always appreciate it before you go to Betty Bye. Yes, I said Betty Bye. Bases loaded. Yankees up 1-0 after Aaron Judge. He hates Josh Naylor.
He's not a big Josh Naylor fan.
I don't know who that is, but okay.
Guardians first baseman / outfielder.
Oh, okay. Dang, you know more than me, Garrett.
So, boys, let me tell you my take on what it would be a Subway Series.
I'm just going through real quick, Jay, and I'll tell you, and I'll let you go real quick, and then we got Shane.
What's
We
up?
always watch our boy from work. He always watches always comments. We always appreciate Shane.
Nice.
So, Jay, we're gonna throw it to you. What's going on? What are you thinking? What are your thoughts?
So 2 names, Spencer Strider and Justin Verlander. And I think with both of those teams having a starter like that, I mean, I think Verlander's at like 1.75 for his ERA, and Strider became the fastest pitcher in MLB history. He beat Randy Johnson's record to 200 strikeouts in a single season. That's no joke when you could do that. So I know he's been having some issues as of late, and his next start is TBD. I think they'll probably rest him because they can. It doesn't matter what seed or where they get. Once they're in the playoffs, I think they're the most dangerous team in the NL. And Houston's playing ridiculous baseball. And I think when you have 2 starting pitchers as your one that can devour lineups, that's a problem in the playoffs because they're gonna pitch twice in a 7-game series and probably get 2 wins. So I think, and I hate to say it, I think we might see a rematch.
Might see a rematch as in Astros Braves?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, the Astros are playing, great baseball, consistent baseball. They did a great job, and when they lost their key guys in Correa and I forget the other guy's name. What's the other guy's name, Mike? Correa and who?
Correa and
guy went to the Twins.
He went to the Twinkies.
That's Correa.
Okay, who went to the Blue Jays?
Springer,
George Springer. When they lost those 2 guys, I thought the team was just going to kind of go downhill. But they have their core in Jose Altuve and Bregman. Yeah, so, I mean, I agree with you. I think that's a good thing. But I am going to make my pick for a World Series. It will be the Yankees versus the Mets in the World Series.
So you are saying nothing stops the Subway Series?
I am.
In the end.
In the end, I'm saying it's going to be Yankees-Mets.
Okay.
And it'll be Garrett Cole pitching against Max Scherzer in Game 7. Oh, boy.
And we'll really find out whether the Yankees should have signed Scherzer or not.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Should we have thrown the bag at him?
Yep. I half agree with you, John. I do think that the AL representative will be the New York Yankees. However, I do not think it's going to be the Mets. I'm going to say it's going to be Yankees Cardinals.
Oh my God.
I think they're going to have a bit of magic this year, the Cardinals.
Magic. Okay. Jamie?
Astros Braves.
So
yeah.
Mikey Mike's got Yankees Cards.
Stay tuned for sometime this weekend when I put that clip up, because that's definitely a clip I'm putting up.
Definitely. Oh, and tune in next week. Mike and I will be at Yankee Stadium to watch them play against the Baltimore.
Will we now?
Saturday special.
Is that
Cinco
what we're gonna do? Is that what we're gonna do?
Well, I'm going to the game. I'm leaving Mike at the hotel.
Yeah. I'll sit down in the restaurant and wait for hopefully some of the players and their families to show up.
Mike gonna come down like, where are you? I'm at the game already. Where are you?
Hopefully Joey Hot Dog shows up. You can have a hot dog eating contest with him.
I'll win.
Good. So talk about dominance. So there's one thing that we brought up, and we got into a little like riff in our group chat that we have about parity in college football, and like how we like to do these top 5s and everything, but the top 5 hasn't really changed other than the 5th spot. And I think it brought up a really good point ultimately. It's been Bama, Clemson, Ohio State. Those have been the 3 dominant schools over the last 10 years, I would say, span. Bama being the most dominant, Clemson and Ohio State sprinkling in there. What is it about parity in college football that you guys think needs to change or is changing already?
Mike, you want to take it?
Yeah, so I'll start. I think for Bama, it's been partially that they're pipeline is really those Southern boys that like born and raised on football, and they're able to recruit them. Saban's a hell of a recruiter. But not only that, but when you get to the point that Bama's at, and to a certain degree, Clemson and Ohio State, those top programs, it's the program name too. It's the promise of success. That if I go to Alabama, like heck, I could go to Alabama and I'll be the third or fourth string quarterback my entire time there, right? Like let's say I'm sitting behind Bryce Young the whole time, and I know that I'm still probably going to be a national champion at least once.
Sure.
So, like, if I don't think, you know what I mean? If I want to be successful right out of the gate, I go to one of these programs.
Sure.
From my perspective, it's not necessarily what needs to change, because I think it's already changing, is that you're starting to get a generation of players that aren't thinking like that want to be their own person, that want to start early, turn a program into a winner. And especially, I think it's been the pace of that has been drastically increased by Deion Sanders and the way he has approached being a head coach and recruiting. I think coaches like him are creating, like, you don't want to go over there and be just another number, just another player. Yeah, they might win a national championship, but what are you going? You're not going to play. Come over here, let's play, and we're going to build up, and we're going to beat them. We're going to beat them. We're going to take their game, and we're going to shove it back in their face. The team that is willing to do this. Anyway.
But yeah, now cue my music. Cue Brown.
Yes, cue. But no, but seriously, I think that's where college football is heading, is you're going to start seeing more and more smaller programs have success. Appalachian State, Kentucky is suddenly not just a basketball school.
Yeah.
You know, you got these basketball schools. Like North Carolina's football is actually not bad.
Right.
Yeah, I see a little bit of difference. Deion coaches in FCS, so that school will never get to the promised land of the college football playoff. Same with Appalachian State; they'll never get to that promised land unless they move conferences. But I get what you're saying. One thing that I said it to you guys a few weeks ago, and I sent a video to you, is the facilities are playing a major factor. They're investing in the facilities. The Florida Gators just invested in a $90 million football facility that is immaculate. It has a whole like pool for themselves. It has like a full training center, 2 football fields, locker room that is incredible. So I think the schools as a whole, like, and of course Florida's a big name, right? Let's not kid ourselves. Florida's a big school, Tennessee, but the schools that haven't been around in a little bit, like Tennessee, Texas, Oklahoma's been there and there, but any of the Big 12 schools are starting to invest more into their programs that I think is helping them. The other thing I think is helping is the transfer portal, because it's going to what Mike's saying is you're not playing there, come over here and play. And you don't have to sit a year. So, I think eventually we're going to see starting to fade out. But it's hard. I mean, Nick Saban's a great recruiter. He's got great coach. He hires great coaches who ends up being head coaches. So it's hard to compete with that consistency. Like, come to Bama. I'm gonna yell at you. I'm gonna get in your face. I'm gonna be. But I have backup. Why? I have these to back it up. I have rings to back it up, So it's like he can do that. The younger coaches got to kind of play the game of come to the facility. We're investing $20 million into a new facility, that type of thing. So, Jay, what you thinking?
So I kind of did a little bit of some research here and pulled up, since the CFP started, pulled up who the top 5 schools were in terms of recruiting class for that year. And then saw if there was a correlation with whether or not they would end up in the college playoff football, the semifinals of the college playoff football. So we started in 2014. And of course, on that list, Bama has had the number 1 class of the last 8 years since 2014. Bama's been number 1 about 6 times. Georgia was number 1 twice, and then Texas A&M surprisingly this year, right? And then on that list, regularly schools you're seeing is FSU when they were FSU, Ohio State's there, Ohio State, Georgia, USC was there in 17-18 coming off of what they did. A&M popped up there. Texas is up there. Clemson only had 1 year when they were in the top 5. So Clemson seems to me be the overreaching team to have classes ranked at 16 or 11 or 12 that pushes their way into that top 4. Of course, we've had anomalies like TCU 1 year or Oregon 1 year, Washington 1 year. But we look at the programs and think, are these programs really, really well funded? And the only school that stands out of all the teams that have ever made the Big Four that doesn't seem to be that glamour of having a huge, huge booster. What do you? I don't know what you call it. Let's say a booster program, but boosters that support their school, especially their football team, is Cincinnati last year. Yep. So you look at 3 things that keep these teams around that are always going to be relevant. You said the first one, John, which I think is the flash. What brings them to the school? Spending hundreds of millions of dollars for them to feel like this is the most comfortable place that I can be in that can develop me into a potential pro. And that's why we see these top classes always going to these schools. The second thing is the recent history of the program. So I think the Yankees did something good. The recent history of the program has these kids feeling like if I'm on a winning team, I have a chance to get in the game and I'm going to be on TV. And that's the easiest way for me to be noticed and be invited to the Senior Bowl, etc., whatever it is. Yeah. I'm not athlete. The third thing that I think that people don't think about enough, which draws people into these schools, is what has the school done to create an atmosphere that people are going to have a great college experience at? And they did something really interesting. Somebody brought something up the other day and said, if you look at Bama prior to Saban coming in and Saban now, there's 15,000 more people in the school. So overall, there's 15 to 17,000 more people at
That's
Bama.
Crazy.
Right?
That's crazy.
That's the effect of what a great football program or a great sporting program can do, especially back when Bama lives football, right? So you look at these schools that have a never-ending budget and you wonder, can anybody else ever compete? And the only thing that will do that is the transfer portal making college football absolutely crazy. And until there's some hard – and here's an idea I have. I think that if you finish in the top 4, I think that you should have a restriction on how many kids can enter your school from the portal that year. So I think by qualifying for the top 4 to create more parity, you say, you know what? You guys do not get to pull anybody in the portal beyond, if they rank it, let's say, you don't get anybody in the top 50.
So you're saying ultimately like the draft, how the Super Bowl champion always gets the last pick.
Right. Much. So like the teams that make the top 4 of that year, you can only get players ranked 51 and down. So the top 50 coming out in that portal, whoever ranks them, has to go to every other school. Now you're going to say, how's that fair in a kid that wants to do environmental studies and Notre Dame's the best school for that, and why are you telling him he can't go to Notre Dame? And there's going to be a lot of arguments to it. My thing is, I'm just looking at it from a pure sports competitive standpoint of how you make the college football atmosphere more competitive.
And that's why I think that would never happen, the restriction, because you're kind of messing with kids that want to go to a particular school. And
but do they really want to go to the school for academics?
No, you're gonna say they do.
Yeah. But it's almost like free agency.
Right.
It's like telling them where to go. It's like telling these professional athletes when they're unrestricted free agent that they can go and they can only go to a certain amount. Like last year, they can only go to teams that aren't the Braves and the Astros. Well, why? Right. So it's
what if I want to go to the Braves or the Astros?
Yeah, exactly, to make them better and win another title. So, I get what you're saying, and I kind of like that idea where it gives you a limit of how many transfer portals you can have.
Right.
So instead of limiting what rank, so say you win the national championship, but then you're also saying, why are you punishing me for winning? Why are you punishing me
for
the
number 1 recruiting class?
I get that. Right? But why? Exactly. Yeah. And that's the other thing.
What if instead of a limit on where they can go, if you give a limit on the number of transfers?
That's what I said. That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Okay, that's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. Like a number of
2 max on offense and 2 max on defense. Nobody on special teams is really going through the transfer portal.
Right. And that allows for other teams to have more parity in the college game because like the top, let's say, okay, so Bama wins the national championship. Tua gets the job because he takes over for Jalen. Jalen sits on the bench for a year, ends up transferring to Oklahoma. Oklahoma was in the college football playoffs. So Jalen, let's be honest, like in that case, that's 4 teams. But there's also those other 6 teams that were probably top 10 that could use a quarterback. Yep. Michigan, Ohio State, any of those schools could use a quarterback, and they're still highly rated. You know you're going to get a high recruiting class.
Yep.
I don't mind that idea because that's going to ultimately bring a lot of parity to the college game. But it's also going to push for Saban and all those guys to go win it goes back on the recruitment thing. It
goes back to the recruiting trail.
You have to go.
Speaking of quarterbacks, right? Here's what's interesting about the class of 2023 so far. All we know, Manning is going to be, he's the number 1 guy out of the class right now. He's committed to Texas. Number 2 is undeclared right now. He's an edge rusher, 25 schools on his radar. Number 3 and 5 commit to USC, which is quarterback number 2 and wide receiver 1. And the 4th overall ranked player in the class has said he's going to Tennessee. So if that undeclared doesn't go to Bama or Georgia, you're looking at the top 5 players of the class not committing to Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State. So and Lincoln Riley already putting a stamp, number 2 quarterback, number 1 wide receiver. You know what Lincoln Riley could do with a firepower of an offense. That's interesting to me because maybe like you said, maybe the landscape will change significantly in the next 2 or 3 years. As we're seeing that of the top 5, maybe even the top 10 recruits, because Oregon was on there and A&M was on there, that one might not even go to Bama or Georgia, which is interesting to me. You know, it's like out of the top 10 guys, Bama or Georgia might not even get one.
Did you see something on Archie Manning that Texas spent $284,000 on his visit?
Weekend? Yeah.
How do you do that? Like with under 20? I can understand if he was like 21 and over, and like they took him to a bunch of bars, but like, what the hell do you do for $284,000?
Well, when you have to bring the bar to the apartment that you're renting and rent out like a penthouse, and then who knows what the entertainment was as well, right?
Pull the Rick Pitino.
I was going to say. So before we move on, because I know we have a few
big dinners for the whole team.
Exactly. Before we move on, because I know there's a few other things we have to do. Jamie, what you were saying brought up a question to me, and I want to see what you guys think.
Yeah.
Do you think there's more similarity between college football and college basketball as far as top teams go than maybe people think? Because you've got those programs that always recruit top players that will immediately make an impact, like an Alabama, like a Georgia. Yeah. But then you've got teams like Oregon, USC, and Clemson who recruit good guys to develop. So all of a sudden they've got the 4th or 5th year seniors that have their best seasons, and they're suddenly like the number 2 team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, to that point, I think the transfer portal has expedited the college basketballs, the teams in college basketball. I think it's expedited a lot faster than it has for college football, more or less because there's only a one year rule for right now. The NBA is looking to change it back to 18. Mm-hmm. They're actually in serious talks about before the season going to make that rule where you can leave before even going to college, which I think is going to even increase the college game even more. So to your point, Mike, I think that the transfer portal has expedited it, and has basically expanded the college basketball hemisphere to where we don't know who's going to come out. There's so many good games now where smaller schools have a chance to win. Like our school we went to, St. Bonaventure, had a chance to play for, it dominated some teams, got dominated by others. It's just, there's so much more. I think there's more parity in college basketball than there is in college football. And that transfer portal expedited that faster. Mm-hmm. But to Jay's point, I think the football ranks is because you have to be there 3 years.
Well, I also think in basketball that one player can impact your school.
Correct.
As opposed to in football. One player can impact, but it takes a lot more than one player to have a championship effect or
a system
appeal on your program, right? One thing that's interesting about basketball is the blue blood programs still continue to pull in names at will. And a lot of that is because they still own Saturday basketball, right? Like you're going to get seen on TV a lot, and without a helmet on, you're a very recognizable face from an NIL standpoint and getting deals. That also serves you very well. So I think the Bluebird programs continue to benefit because they've been in bed with the bigger networks, and their programs continue to attract bigger, obviously, their fan base. So, of course, the network's going to be like, yes, we want Kansas. Yes, we want Duke. Yes, we want Kentucky. Yes, we want UCLA, right? Even over Gonzaga, that might be a better program because you're talking about their fan base being millions and millions. It's global, right? I mean, like, these are global brands almost in a sense with basketball being adored at the college level because they know some of these players are going to go to the NBA guaranteed. As with football, we don't know that. We can assume that, but we see it in football so many times. A first or second round pick could come out of a Appalachian State or come out of a Washington
Tulane or
wherever, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little more like chalk and cheese as for who's going to be in the top 25, top 40, whatever it is.
And the NBA has only two rounds, so
yep.
And then the percentage from that 2 rounds to actually make the roster from the team from the players that get the 10 days is very low. So and Uncle Mike has the same factor. NIL has factor recruitment, and then he asks who I was recruited by. No one. That's why I'm doing a podcast.
No. You were getting looked at by Q's, right?
No. I would have walked on to Q's, but that dream is long gone.
Preferred walk on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back in my swimming days, Ohio University had reached out and offered something. I took a scholarship at Kentucky eventually. Clemson was on the radar as well. I really wanted to, of course, Kentucky was near and dear to me, but I actually wanted to wait a year and kind of see what other options would open up because I wanted to look at options on the other coast. I was always kind of interested in that when I first came up there. Happy I did the Kentucky thing and transferred to Tampa, but the recruiting thing is exciting. It's interesting. It's also stressful for kids now, I think, more than ever. Because it's not as stressful as it used to be, as it once was, because you don't have the restrictions anymore. And if you transfer within conference, you have to sit out a year. Like the portal has just created Melee.
Right.
So I don't think the decision of where to go is as stressful as it once was because players like, I don't like this place. I'm out of here. Coach, sign me out. Like, get me into the clearinghouse again. I need to transfer. I'm out of here. So I don't think it's as stressful as a process anymore, which might be good because I remember in my time, it was a little bit stressful. It was a little bit, overbearing to try and figure out where's the next best place for me, for the next 2, 3, 4 years of my life.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. And, not to be not an old joke, but back when you were getting recruited, like, there wasn't all this social media and everything like that, and there wasn't as much social media as when I was, coming out of high school playing hockey and, trying to make, teams and whatnot. And in that aspect, there wasn't that, now you're seeing guys. I mean, we saw Zion Williamson before, he was 14 or before he was 16 years old, dunking.
I was tracking Ben Simmons in his 10th grade. Like this kid.
Yeah. So it's like, social media has expedited that process as well. So, but, I mean, I think parity will come around ultimately, but, week 3 of the NFL season is definitely coming. I had no way to transition that, so I'm just going to go right into it. So I saw something cool, guys. I was listening to a couple podcasts and I saw a couple things on social media that was pretty interesting. I thought I wanted to get your guys' take on is overreaction and underreaction on different hot takes.
Right.
And instead of doing top 5 in the NFL, because every team looks awful except the Eagles and the Bills. I'm joking. The Bills. The Bills are the only team that kind of looks like has their shit together.
Hold on. Tampa's only given up 13 points so far this year.
But let's be realistic. The Bills look like the most dominant team in the NFL. So that's what. But I'm saying as a total in 2 weeks, no one looks like a contender other than the Bills in a sense. Saying Tampa could lose, they won their game. They played great defense. I'm not lying about that, but they're not, the Tampa teams we've seen in the past. So we're not kind of used to that. They're also hurt right now. So we're not really. There's a lot of parity. Talking about parity. There's a lot of parity in the NFL except the Bills. So I figure we do overreaction, underreaction on hot takes that we had Mr. Cinco Trade H Booker give us and. I'm going to read those off for us. I'm going to go one at a time. I want to get your guys' overreaction, underreaction on it. It's either or. So pick either or, okay? And I'm reading this for the first time as well. So we'll go Jay, Mike, me, go around in a circle, and we'll just say. Okay. So right now, he has Josh Allen is the best QB in the league.
Overreaction. Patrick Mahomes is playing incredible football right now. I think that Josh Allen is dialed in, and he's probably more of a dual threat than anybody other than Lamar Jackson right now. But that's an overreaction because there's too many other good quarterbacks in the AFC alone that can compete for MVP right now. And 2 games after playing a sorry Rams team, I'm sorry, they just didn't look like they were prepared at all. Like we said, week 1, nobody played in the preseason. And playing a Tennessee team that looks like their time was last year and they've completely fallen off the wagon. I don't think 2 games tells us enough that he's the best quarterback in the league, and we should never write off Patrick Mahomes. All the kid does is win. His worst result is getting to the AFC Championship game so far in his career.
Thank you, Mike. You're up.
Overreaction. I think that Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the league. I agree with everything that Jay said. I do think that by the end of this season, if he keeps playing this way, Allen will probably be the best quarterback in the league. But as of right now, it's still Patrick Mahomes.
That's a tough one. Because
don't give in to the Western Central media.
Don't do it. Because here's the thing is I think Josh Allen has a great team around him, a great chemistry with his receivers, which takes time, and a great system he's playing in that fits for him. Just like Andy Reid fits Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to say it is an overreaction at this time, but I'm kind of in between those two. I agree with Jamie on Patrick Mahomes. I think for him to be able to just take receivers one run after the other, we still have Tom Brady who can light it up if he wants to. Aaron Rodgers still out there, which that team looked like a completely different team on Sunday night. Granted, it was the Bears, but they looked better than they did on week 1. So I'm going to say overreaction, but I agree with Mike that I think at the end of the year, he will be the MVP of the league, in my opinion. So with 3 overreactions on Josh Allen's best quarterback in the league. All right. So, and the Yankees just blew the lead. Son of a bitch. Okay, so that's an overreaction.
No, that's an underreaction.
That's an underreaction.
Happened. The Yankees blew a lead. Overreaction.
God damn it. All right, next one is Mike Evans deserves to be suspended for the next game after the scuffle last week. Well, he already is suspended, but I think
he's actually in the deserved part.
He
deserves. Yeah, deserved. Yeah.
Yeah. Underreaction because anytime you do something that could bring harm to a player that's a non-football play, now questions your ethics as a football player, because the last thing you want to do is hurt one of your fellow NFL players on a non-football play. It was a dumb play. Yes, he's starting up for his QB, but if you come in there and blindside push someone and they fall on their shoulder and separate their shoulder, the guy misses time, you could break a collarbone. Anything could happen in that scenario. He completely lost it. He lost his cool. What he's showing kids is it's okay for me to lose my temper and react like a teenager that still hasn't learned how to be an emotionally intelligent pro athlete. Bad message sent to anybody around, especially young Bucs fans. I know there's some Bucs fans here on Reddit. It was like, oh, people that think that way are sissies because they have that old school mentality for football. Mm-hmm. Football is not a game where you fight off the field. You battle on the field. So,
yep, agreed.
Yeah, underreaction, definitely. The thing is that this is not the first time this has happened. Mm-hmm. You clearly have a vendetta against Marshawn Lattimore.
100%. Yeah.
And you wanted to fight. You wanted a reason. You can tell by his body language. Even when lining up against Lattimore, you can tell by their body language they wanted a reason to fight each other.
They hate each other.
They absolutely hate each other, and they're not afraid of admitting it.
They don't hide it. Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is like, not only I agree, it's okay, stand up for your QB. That's one thing, but you're also in that situation when you are just going after another NFL player like that. you are putting your team and quarterback in danger because your team. And what do teams normally do when fights like that break out? It happens in baseball, where there shouldn't be any fighting because there's usually not a reason. Right. Everybody comes in. And now suddenly you're putting the fellow players in danger. You're putting coaches in danger on the sideline you're fighting on. You know, it could be a water boy over there. You might roll into him. He might tear his ACL and then he's out. It's inexcusable. There's a reason why hockey, which might be, if it's not football, is the other most violent sport in America, has penalized fighting.
For 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes and then
you get 5 minutes, and if you excessively fight, you get kicked out of the game.
Yeah. But it's still a very accepted part of the game, which you know.
Right, but that's my point, though.
There's an argument to other things where players get punished for certain things, and you're like, well, you know, these hockey players can literally fight each other and get a 5 minutes out.
But but to Mike's point, the quote unquote goon of the NHL is kind of fading away. There's not like a guy you draft or guy you pick up in free agency that's a goon. And now the Lightning have Patrick Maroon, but he's not really a goon. He's just an enforcer in a sense.
He's a tough guy. Right.
He's not a goon. Like he's not like some of the guys that you used to pick up. I can't think of any on the top of my head, but
Derek Bugard.
Speak about this goon. What do you think about that goon this weekend?
So so at first it was an overreaction to me. Here's the thing: is I played sports. I've gotten in heated moments. So for example, my quarterback in my senior year, he was getting running to the sidelines, and he was getting tackled, and he was running out, and the 6'6" recruit to Syracuse, pretty much commit, flips him and like picks him up and throws him, like pretty much. And the heat of the moment, I got pissed. A couple of the guys on the sideline got pissed, ran out and started trying to get after him. So at first I thought overreaction, because at the end of the game I thought, okay, what I did was wrong, was stupid. I shouldn't have done it. To hear Mike Evans after the game talk about how, you know, he's just trying to stand up for his quarterback and not just owning up to it, I made a mistake, is an underreaction now, is my vote, because I think ultimately, I agree with Mike, you're hurting your team, but also you have to understand that they're playing for millions of dollars, and the heat of the moment comes up. And something that Jamie brought up to me is that over the last 4 or 5 years, Marshawn Lattimore has locked Mike Evans down for only 6 receptions.
Yep.
And no touchdowns. So at the end of the day, that gets under your skin. And I'm a firm believer of go prove it on the field. Put it up on the scoreboard. Go catch a touchdown over him. That will shut him up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's an underreaction, because I think he deserves to be suspended because of his comments. If he just said, yeah, after the game, you know, I was wrong, I should have proved it on the scoreboard, that type of thing, I would have said overreaction, because he knows what he did was wrong. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he does. And I still don't think he does. I still think the next game is going to be I said it to you. I think it's going to be a repeat of this past game.
So it's going to go down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have a couple comments in here. Uncle Mike went to the Monday Night Football game, and he met Bruce Smith, Andre Reed, Darryl Talley, and Marv Levy. Yeah. That's awesome, Uncle Mike.
You got Marv Levy and Mr. Bruce Smith.
Shane has Mahomes is the best for sure. Yes, Allen has some of the best receivers. Mm-hmm. I could agree with that. Mm-hmm. And then Uncle Mike, I can't tell if you're joking or not, because
he is.
Mahomes and Allen over Danny Dimes. Reevaluate this.
Love it.
And then
G. All right, what Mr. Cinco have for us next?
All right, so Mr. Cinco has, let's get some positive. So Derrick Henry is finished, done as a top 5 running back in the league. Go.
Underreaction.
Nike?
I think
just saying
as much as he looked, because that's why social media is so
terrible.
At times it could fool you. He's doing these great workouts, and he looks like a beast, and he looks like he's healthier than ever. He's been fragile for 3 years. We know the running back 6-7 year window. At that point, you're looking at the drop off happening. Very few in the league that go beyond that Emmitt Smith sort of longevity. and Frank Gore. So I don't think he's one of those guys. I think that Derrick Henry is now teetering away from top 5 running backs in the league.
So you're saying he's finished?
He's finished as a top 5 running back. This year is his last year to prove it, but I don't think it happens.
Mikey?
I think right now this is an overreaction. I think he's a big dude. He's made a different, we've talked before, he's made a different stuff than most running backs, most players, most people. I think he's got at least maybe a couple more seasons of top 5 in him.
Yeah.
I will agree that he's on the downslope as a top 5 running back, but I still think he holds a top 5 running back spot for at least this season, if not this and next.
So I'm going to say this is an overreaction for 2 weeks. If this was week 8 and this was the same thing, I would say this is an underreaction, and I would agree with you, Jamie. But yes, I think it's 2 weeks. And I always say this: your running back is only as good as the people in front of you. And I forget what the big uglies, but I take that to offense because I was a lineman, so I'm not ugly. But I think this is overreaction for right now. I just think that he's such a powerful back and he's such a methodical back that it's going to come to him at some point. I think he's going to ultimately get back on the train and whatnot. But I agree with you, Mike, that I think he's got a couple seasons left because life of a running back in NFL is really slim. So overreaction, underreaction. So,
I mean, look, it's hard for me to name 4 better running backs than him right now.
Agreed.
It's hard for me to do that. I just think it's more about him not being like he can't give you a season anymore. And it's not that he's not top 5. It's to me, it's like I can't consider you a top 5 guy because I can't lean on you. I can't depend on you.
Right.
Agreed.
You're a top 5 guy if you're giving me a season worth of what you're made of, but you're not going to be there and you're not going to be healthy in the playoffs. And it's showing for the last 2 years. Titans top seed last year, first round exit. See you later.
Yeah, and Shane agrees. He has one of the worst old lines, which is true. Yeah. If Taylor Lumen didn't get hurt, maybe he would have a good blocking. And I just think that's key to a running back. I mean, look at Zeke. Zeke over the last few years, ever since he got his contract, he had the curse of the contract. It fell right down. And pretty much
have done this since his rookie year.
Since his rookie year, right? Exactly.
However, so something came up where he was one of the only running backs in his first 6 years to break 1,000 yards or something. So he's also an exclusive company. But compared to what he broke out with, that's the thing. I think we judge a lot of guys on how they break out instead of saying there's a lot of averages at some point. You can't maintain this, So I think he's a victim of that.
And a lot of times, especially in a career that's for him that's still kind of young by like some comparison to some players, it's not necessarily how you start, it's how you finish.
Yep, I agree. All right, on to the next one. And we're going to go to our boy up in the Baltimore area. Lamar Jackson was smart to not take the deal with the Ravens. The Ravens offered him in the offseason. Now, he's betting on himself. What other player has bet on himself and is in a contract year? Just saying, in professional sports. So he's coming up to the plate right now. So Jamie, what do you think? Overreaction?
That's an underreaction because he was smart. So it'd be if he was smart. Am I saying it's an overreaction? The underreaction, because I do agree with it, right?
Yeah.
So I agree that he was smart not to take the deal. What you're looking at right now with him is that he got stuck in the middle with the Kyler Murray deal and the ridiculous deal that the Browns put on the table for Watson.
Correct.
Because there's an $80 million difference in guaranteed money there. And what the Ravens tried to do was the Ravens said, maybe if we meet in the middle, but there was no talks of $200 million guaranteed. And I think he would have been okay with $200 million guaranteed. I think they more said, hey, Kyler brought it back down to earth a bit. We're back in that 150, 160 talk, because essentially it's not that he's the same quarterback as Kyler Murray, but he has the same risk factor that you're going to run around all over the place like a chicken with his head cut off on broken plays and not know when to slide and not know when to take the hit. And we can't risk our franchise on that mentality.
The investment, right?
So even though I think from that standpoint, from the Ravens standpoint as management, it's hard because I don't know what perspective to look at, but I'll say underreaction. I think he was smart to do it.
Yeah, at this point, I would have to say underreaction. I think so far, so good, so to speak. You know, he's proving that he is going to be worth more money. My concern with his contract is that he's negotiating it himself.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say.
And a lot of people have said that Lamar Jackson is not the crunchiest chip in the bag, as they say. So my concern for him is that he's going to he may get more money, but he's going to negotiate himself into an incentive-laden contract that really isn't going to pay him what he thinks it's going to.
It's almost like the Richard Sherman. It's like the Richard Sherman effect.
Right. Yeah. So, but at this point, it's an underreaction because so far, so good. He's been proving that he's worth more money than they offered.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an underreaction. I think he's basically a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion. I think he's a really talented quarterback. I didn't think so at first, but I really do at this point think he's one of the greatest, one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and he proves it on a weekly basis. And last week was an embarrassment to give up that lead at halftime. Right. You have to continue to play, but I think him betting on himself is him saying, let's go. I'll pull an Aaron Judge this year. I'll go out and throw for 5,000 yards. I'll throw for 50 touchdowns. I'll have 3 interceptions, and I'll take us to the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. Like, I'll do what we have to do. So I think it's an underreaction. I think he's definitely going to go out there and ball out this year. You're going to see a little bit of a different Lamar Jackson, where he's going to extend a play a little bit more, or he's going to try to do something that you're like, dang, where'd that come from? Mm-hmm. So just watch. Towards the end of the season, you're going to see some interesting things from him.
So here's my question. In under 5 seconds, best potential spot for Lamar to land if he decides to jump ship would be?
Tampa.
Mikey?
Miami.
Why? Tua.
He's better than Tua.
With the tools that they have. Yeah. I think if you're going to leave, you come to Florida because of the state tax laws. And I agree with you, John. I'm surprised you said Tampa. I think Tampa as well.
The reason why I say Tampa is because if they come into Tampa, I think Brady's deal is only 1 year. Yeah. And it allows Brady to leave the franchise in a good state. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the reason why Brady came back.
He has more weapons than he's ever had before.
Ever had. A great line. Mm-hmm. A running back core a receiving core, and a defense where he can go put up 25 points and understand that he doesn't need it. That's good to go. You can go win the games, and that's why I think he could go. And I think Tom Brady ultimately, the reason why he came back is he felt bad that the team was left and such. Now I could be completely wrong, right? He could care less. He just wants to play. He doesn't want to be home. Those type of things. But I think he's basically saying like, hey, I'm going to go to Tampa. I'm going to go to Sunshine State, and enjoy winning in the sun and the heat and everything like that. So, all right, let's go to the last one. Read this past weekend. Shane says, that was funny. Kyler Murray runs like a toddler that stole his parents. Yo, he does, though. He runs when he was running all over. I was watching the game with my parents, and she was like, "Oh my God, they can't tackle him! Like he's running around circles.
He's so quick." I think he just says, "Okay, this is me trying to not get a rundown. First base, second base. First base, second base.
Hot box. Somebody from the side, like, pickle.
All right. So our last one, Mike, you might like.
Oh, I like things I like.
New York City will have 2 teams in the playoffs this year
for football.
Well, yeah, this is NFL.
Okay.
Overreaction.
Very much so.
Huge overreaction. The AFC is way too dominant, and the Giants will show their true colors eventually. So, overreaction.
Come on, Mikey, be honest.
Love you, Mike, but it's true.
He's just being honest.
Overreaction. The Giants will make the playoffs. The Jets won't.
How are you biting on that? Come on, bro.
So I'm saying overreaction. I think I agree with Jay. Yes, the Giants and the Jets had a couple good games, but it's only the week 2. I never wish any injuries on anybody. I hope both teams have solid rosters and injury free, especially from that scary injury on Monday Night Football. That definitely shocked me because I've seen that in person before. So, I think it's an overreaction 100%. I think New York, unfortunately, is not a football town right now. It will get back there eventually, Mike, I'm saying. But overreaction. Both teams missed
the Jets definitely scored with Wilson. I tell you what, that kid can ball out.
Oh, yeah. He's.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Flacco was the one that brought him back out of the overtime, second half.
Well, who had to make the catch? I say Wilson.
No, he means Garrett Wilson.
Oh, Garrett Wilson. I thought you meant Zach Wilson.
No, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, Zach Wilson's out like with one of his mom's friends. I mean, what?
It's Flacco's mom.
But boys, that was a good segment. I like that. Overreaction, underreaction. I think we gotta rename that. Like agree, disagree. Buy, sell, Cinco or Quattro. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that.
Cinco or Cero.
Cero. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's time for our signature that everyone's been waiting for. I think everyone fell asleep. It is time for Stump the Squad. Jamie, let me put you in the big screen. All right, Jamie.
So once again, we've reached our favorite point in the show. We get to ask each other sports trivia questions, pretend we know it all. We actually have our laptops and we cheat, but we pretend we're not looking up answers. Anyway, we're going to bet 2 or 1. In fact, we're going to go 2 across the board this week when it's 3 because it just makes it more exciting. The person with the most points at the end of Stump the Squad gets to go on their rant, and we are trying to dethrone Mike, who is now on a 5
Cinco
streak right now.
A Cinco Pete.
He's got the championship belt on his shoulder. Let's bring him back. Let's make him eat some humble pie tonight, John. So who'd like to kick off tonight?
Sorry, I'm not that hungry.
We'll go with Mikey since he's on a 5. Cinco Pete. He's on a Cinco Pete.
All right.
So you automatically want to try to make me start the hole. Gotcha.
Yep. So you start at 0.
Boom. Go, Mike.
Okay. So as we know, we have Aaron Judge, who is seeking to become the single-season home runs leader in the American League. Some people consider it in the Major League, but either way, trying to pass Roger Maris. But what's kind of slipped under the rug for some casual baseball fans has been the other piece of history we are watching happen, which is that Albert Pujols is attempting to become the 4th player to ever hit 700 home runs. He is 2 away. He didn't hit one today, right?
No. John said it's never going to happen, and I'm like, yes, it will.
He's going to do it.
I did not.
You said there was not enough games left, and he won't be that hot as he was in August and September.
So,
well, you're right. Yeah.
So he's got 698 right now, so he's closing in on 700 career home runs, and currently sits 4th on the all-time home runs list.
Mm-hmm.
How many people has he passed on the all-time home runs list this season? A, 1, B, 2, C, 3, or D, 4? How many players has he passed on the all-time home runs list this season?
I want to say 4. No. I'm going to go with my original answer. C.
So he's passed 3 guys this year.
Passed
2.
3.
I know he definitely passed A-Rod.
He's passed one other.
And I think earlier in the season they mentioned another name. I'm going to go with 2.
Okay, so John says C, 3. Jamie says B, 2.
Yep.
I have successfully stumped the squad.
It's 4.
It's 1.
It's
A-Rod,
1.
right?
It's just A-Rod.
Just A-Rod. Because I'm thinking, who else is up there in the 760s and 70s?
He passed Willie Mays 2 years ago.
Okay.
At 660. He entered this year at, I believe, 670.
Common sense should have prevailed that club is too exclusive for there to be 2. So
yes. He passed A-Rod, 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Last week, I thought.
Yep.
Was it last week? It was 696. So yeah.
It
was last week.
Damn it, Jamie. We're in the hole.
Great success.
All right, Mike. Who you want next?
John.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
All right. Jamie's got 2. Mike's got 2. All right, Jamie. You got to get this right. So, before 1977, 3 players each won 2 World Series MVPs, including Sandy Koufax in 1963 and 65. Who were the other 2? Was it A, Bob Gibson and Frank Robinson, B, Brooks Robinson and Frank Robinson. C, Bob Gibson and Reggie Jackson. Or D, Reggie Jackson and Brooks Robinson.
This is before what year?
Before 1977.
Before 1977.
Before 1977.
What was C? Reggie and who?
Bob Gibson.
C.
Okay. Jamie has C.
Bob Gibson and Frank Robinson.
Mikey Mike. And I have successfully stumped Mike.
Yes.
It is Bob Gibson and Reggie Jackson.
Oh, baby.
I thought he only won one before 77.
Oh, baby.
All right.
You suck. Oh, sure.
Mike's baseball brain.
So we got to win this one, Mike, in order to. We got to figure out a tiebreaker next time. So, okay, go ahead, Jay.
All right. So since we are on the baseball talk tonight, there actually seems to be a common theme across the board. Little do we know how special this season is by Mr. Judge himself right now, that it's a very exclusive club to get to 60. But there has been one man that's done it several times. And I will ask you guys, how many times did Sammy Sosa hit for more than 50 home runs in his career?
Why did you ask me who it was, not how many?
How many times
too easy.
did Sammy Sosa hit for more than 50 home runs in his career? Was it
more than
2
50
seasons, 3 seasons, 4 seasons, or 5? How many times did Sammy Sosa have 50 or more home runs in his career? 3 seasons, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, 4 seasons, or 5 times?
4 times.
4 times for John.
Yeah, I was going to say 4 times.
Gentlemen, you are both baseball fanatics, and you are correct. Here's how close it came to 5. He had 1 year with 49, and he had 1 year with 48. So he could have had 6. Yep.
So we're all tied.
I wanted the question to be who's hit 60 more than once, and I would not.
So how are we going to do this? We're all tied at 0.
Oh wow!
All right, here's what. I had an idea if that was going to happen. All right, I had an idea for that. And I have a question. I think I'm going to let you guys just go ahead here and have FaceTime. Next week, when you guys are at the game, all right, if a pitcher decides that they don't want to give up any more home runs to Judge and be that guy that puts him in an exclusive club, let's say he'll be, I believe he'll be 3rd all time if he gets more than 66, right? Because I think that McGuire got to 70 in basketball. So if that pitcher doesn't want to be that guy, right, and they start intentionally walking Judge, will you guys boo the pitcher? Will you be part of the Boo Birds crowd?
So this is our like rant of the week.
So I want you guys to kind of FaceTime rant on the fact. I'll give you numbers. The intentional walks have been way below what Bonds and McGuire had in the years that they had their 70s.
Yeah, he's in like the 90s.
And he struck out way more times than either one of them, which also accounts for them having more intentional walks as well.
Okay, so you're asking us to talk right now or next week?
Yeah, just go ahead and say, look, we're at the game, and, you know, if the pitcher starts intentionally walking, if you're there and you realize he's walked in the 1st and you walk him again in the 3rd, are you going to be part of the Boo Bird committee, and why would you or why wouldn't you?
Mike, who do you want to go first, me or you?
You can go first.
So, Jay, I'm not one to like scream at games or anything like that, but I'll boo, but like kind of be like boo, like just like not very like, you know. I think we're still live. Are we good? I thought something glitched, but that's my bad. But yeah, I won't. I'll boo it because I told Mike to hear about a few weeks ago that I think intentional walks should be taken out of baseball. I don't like it. Pitch to him. Stop being scared. Pitch to him. Stop thinking you're going to be the guy. If you're an MLB pitcher and you think you're very good and everything, pitch to him. Give him yes. Give him a chance to hit you, just like Michael Wacha did tonight. But I mean, he had 3 walks tonight, you know, and 1 strikeout, you know, which is terrible. I mean, pitch to him. Throw the ball to him and try to get him out. You know, like you said, he has struck out the most out of any of those guys. So he's going to swing. Mm-hmm. but beat him on your stuff. And that's my thing. I've always said intentional walk I hate and I hated it with Barry Bonds. Beat him. You know, that matchup between what's his face from the Dodgers and him is always a signature clip that I saw. I forget what his name. Mike, you know it. It was a closer for the Dodgers with the glasses.
Eric Gagne.
Eric Gagne. That clip is always because Eric Gagne shook off. I think it was, I forget the manager at the time, but he shook him off and said, "No, I'm pitching to him. I'm not intentionally walking him. I'm throwing to him." But so I always agree about that. Like, if you're a professional pitcher, throw to him. Don't intentional walk. I don't care about strategy. Throw to him. It's mano y mano at that point. So
Grady Little, by the way.
Grady Little.
I believe was the manager.
Yeah, Mikey.
I got Eric Gagne. Does that mean I win? No. So like John said, he and I have had in-depth discussions on the intentional walk and its place in the game and all that. I like the intentional walk from a strategic purpose as from a manager's perspective. However, I will entirely be a part of the Boo Bird committee if that happens, because that's not strategic. That's, you just don't want to pitch to him.
Right.
If it's, guy on second and he's up, I understand intentionally walking him so that he doesn't drive in the run. You make the other guy beat you.
Yeah.
If he leads off for this team most of the time. If he leads off the game and you immediately intentional walk, you're just scared.
Yeah.
Then I agree, beat him with your stuff, because you have no reason, you have no strategy in walking him besides the fact that you just don't want him to hit a home run off you.
Yeah.
And if you can't beat them, if Judge hits a solo home run off you to open up the game, then you're not a good baseball team.
My favorite line from David Cohn is, if you're a pitcher and you're going to give up a home run, a solo home run is better than a 2-run or a 3-run. A 3-run puts you in a huge hole. A solo is not that bad. It's like, okay. And they got their one hit.
Yeah.
So,
Here's my thing. I know the Pirates have nothing to play for, but why wouldn't you have walked Stanton when the bases were loaded and just face another batter instead of losing on that walk-off, which was a huge potential scenario?
It's an interesting call, because I said the same thing. But the problem is Stanton has been 5 for his last 45 at bats.
It was the right move for them to pitch to him.
Yes, 100%, because he was struggling.
Yeah.
He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Like, they were throwing pitches that were right in his wheelhouse, and he was completely missing, and his timing was off. So if I'm the Pirates, that's the best guy you want up, because now if Judge is up, I'm agreeing with you. Walk him, put him on, and then let's face Torres, who either flies out, grounds out, or hits a home run sometimes. So, but I agree with you. But yeah, I mean, what a great show, boys! I mean, we had a lot of great topics.
Give me.
I'll give you. You're gonna.
Since we all tied.
Yes, sir.
Big respect to the Boston Celtics, who will not honor Mr. Russell once but twice during the season. They'll honor him for their first game, their home opener, and they'll honor him on his birthday as well. I think they're also going to find a piece of the court where they're going to have a permanent 6 as well. So a fitting tribute to the legend of all legends. So way to go, Boston. And in amidst of what we didn't mention this year, looks like a huge controversy there right now with their coach as well. We could talk about that maybe next week when we have the details for it. Possible season-long suspension for Ike, but we'll see what comes of it. And it's for something, I get it's in your contract, but for having a relationship with somebody on staff, I mean, it's not like he did anything to violate her privacy. It was mutual, but whatever. But way to go, Celtics. Honor the great with not 1 but 2 nights. I love that.
100%. Yeah, it's always great when they honor those. I always love when they honor the legends, because that's who makes the history of the franchise who they are ultimately. But yeah, boys, great show. Great episode. I love all the topics. We'll be here next week, Thursday, where Mike and I will be together during the show. So tune in Thursday at 8:30. Mike and I will also be doing a special show from Yankee Stadium next Saturday. We may have Jay join if he's not busy, but we'll be there. It's only going to be about 20 minutes, but we'll be there live. Tune in next week. And Grandpa Jay, you're going down this week in fantasy.
Kentucky football number 8. Team Sawyer going down, baby.
See you guys next week.
That ship is sinking.
In the honor of Pat in the Hat, Goodbye.
Goodbye.